What is up, NERF Nation? This is Scraps from GriffinMods, and today I am bringing you our in-depth review of the new Blazin Bow from NERF. This is the first bow-style blaster that NERF has put out in quite a few years, so I'm relatively excited to open it up and get my hands on it. But first we'll talk about the box. The box itself has the same general elite-style design scheme, even though this is not technically an elite blaster. It is an in-strike blaster. And I'm calling it a blaster because even though it's made to look like a bow, it still operates on a spring, so technically it's an arrow blaster and not a true bow and arrow. But anyways, here in the top right corner we have the NERF logo. Here it says Real Bow Action. We have the picture of the kid firing the bow. Here it says it comes with 3 giant foam arrows. And then down here we have the N-Strike logo, and obviously it says Blazin Bow. On the side of the box, it has a picture of the giant arrow. It says 3 giant foam arrows, which are included, and this is supposedly the actual size of the arrows. On the back of the box, we have the blaster itself. It says fires up to 40 feet, pull back and release to fire, so it functions like the old school bow and arrow as opposed to the big bagged bow, which actually had a catch and a trigger. Here it says big 20-inch wingspan from bow arm to bow arm, and here it says arrow storage for quick reload. And it comes with a total of 3 arrows. You can hold 1 on the front and 2 on either side, just like all of their other bow blasters that they've put out so far. Inside the box, so it does require a very moderate amount of assembly, but it's great because it appears that each of these pieces have been designed to be completely idiot-proof. So they will only go into the spot that they're supposed to go in, and they will only go in the direction they're supposed to go. Even the arrow holders here will only go into a specific side, and only when they're turned the right direction. Here is our assembled Blazin Bow. And as far as the aesthetics of this blaster, I think it looks frickin' sweet. I love the idea of the flames on the front because I'm a bit of a redneck and I like flames on anything. Behind the flames, it almost looks like it has carbon fiber detailing and also on the grip, or maybe composite. It's got these vented marks down the body of the blaster itself, which also look very cool. The handle is very large and very ergonomic, and the entire profile of the bow itself is very aggressive and very well angled. You can also see that it has a big bad bow style air restrictor on the front end here. The blaster itself is only slightly smaller than the big bad bow, even though it's much more compact in the design, and it is a little bit shorter than the original bow and arrow. The Blazin Bow as a whole seems to be very much a hybrid of the original bow and arrow and the big bad bow. You can see that it has a sight running all the way through the top bow arm, just like all of the other NERF bows. We have a great big N-Strike logo here on the front, and I was actually very surprised that the draw is extremely short on the Blazin Bow. It's much shorter than the draw was on the original bow and arrow. So it'll be interesting to see what effect that has on the ranges. The box says that it claims 40 feet. I believe the big bad bow claimed 30 feet, so it should shoot a little bit farther than that. Which brings me to my next point, which is the arrows. These are the giant arrows that they kept talking about on the box, which actually are not gigantic at all. They are just slightly longer than the arrows that came with the big bad bow. Other than that, they're about the same diameter, the fins are the same size, they're pretty much exactly the same, and they are significantly smaller than the original NERF arrows that came with the bow and arrow. I'm going to go ahead and do a quick firing comparison for you guys between all 3 bows, but before I do that, I want to point something out. Each of these bows has a different diameter and length arrow post on it, so if you see somebody else doing a range test or a demonstration and they're not using the arrows that were meant for that bow, the demonstration is going to be false because the arrows perform extremely poorly on any of the other bows because of that difference in diameter. For our firing comparison, we'll start out with the original bow and arrow. And now for the big bad bow and the Blazin Bow. So I didn't notice any real difference in the comparison between all three bows. We'll have to take this outside and actually look at the ranges to see how it performs. For this range test, since we only have 3 arrows, I'm going to go ahead and do the 3 level shots. We'll take a look at the ranges, and then we'll reset and do the angled shots. I do have a slight breeze blowing from right to left. And let's take a look at the ranges. If nothing else, the arrows were consistent. Looks like we have all 3 of them. The first one, the tip is just past 29 feet, and that's about a foot out. We have the next one on the tape just before 32 feet, and we have the final dart right next to the tape between the 32 and the 33-foot mark. And now for our 3 angled shots. And let's take a look at the ranges. I tell you what, at least with new arrows, this bow is pretty consistent. It doesn't have the best ranges in the world, but you know where they're going to go. Looks like we've got the first one here, 42 feet, right on the tape. The next one's just past it at 43 feet. And our long shot is out here at 48 feet. So, them's the ranges. My final verdict on the Blazin Bow: at least it looks cool. The performance is very underwhelming. If you're looking for a bow to just use around the house to annoy people indoors, then this is probably a pretty good choice. The performance is right on par with the Big Bad Bow, so if you're a fan of that and you're looking for something that functions a little bit more like a regular bow and arrow, then this would probably be a good choice for you as well. In terms of something that would actually be effective in a Nerf war, I would definitely stick with the Z-Curve bow. The Blazin Bow is really no match at all for the range and accuracy that you can get with the Z-Curve. I think that about wraps it up. So this has been Scraps from GriffinMods. If you guys liked the video, please subscribe, and of course, thank you very much for watching.